My name is Justin Arnett Graham.
And I'm Nariba Shepherd.
And this is Terms of Service. It's like,
I did a gentle one.
Which way? Because, I mean, you know, we can do it 1,000 different ways.
True.
But, hi, Nariba. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it's another day. We're back at it. But I'm super excited for this episode specifically because we get to sit down with some additional friends of ours. So before we get into all of that, how are you? What's going on?
You know, capitalism.
I mean, it's
Cats.
Capitalism, cats. So we're going for alliteration right now?
Yeah. Well, Christmas tree is still up. I got to take that down.
Okay, well, this is dropping in March.
I know.
Okay.
It's probably still going to be up
Okay,
because this year I did not get an actual tree. I just put some nails in the wall above my TV and I strung lights in the shape of a tree and then I hung ornaments on it.
Okay.
So technically I could just take the ornaments off and leave that up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm feeling complacent.
Okay.
4 C's.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I love it.
How are you?
No, we just did that. I feel
No,
good.
you didn't answer the question.
Oh, I didn't answer
No.
it. Okay, I like I said, like I feel like I said, I'm well. I'm excited. I think at this current juncture, I am starting to feel more like myself because earlier this year was a kind of shake it off kind of
Vibe.
mentality.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, and this will be out after my birthday, so.
Oh, so you feel like that's going to help you shake off this vibe?
Who knows? But, you know, regardless, it happened.
True.
So.
I'm more of a glass half empty kind of gal.
Yeah, we know.
So, 10 toes down.
10 toes down.
It's not going to get better.
Okay, it is going to
cool.
get better.
But, well, all right.
It's going to get better.
I believe that you believe that.
It has to get better.
I know, but
it has to get
I'm
better.
okay, but I'm telling you, glass half full over here.
My mom told me over the past couple of weeks, just knowing all of the things that, you know, has been happening
Yes.
in my life personally, just like, you know, just like everything's temporary. It's just like, you know, you've had some really high highs and, you know, right now you're just dealing with some things and it's just like everything's temporary and it's just like you have to be steadfast in your resolve and just like you'll be like
like personally I think you're gonna be fine. I'm talking about the work.
you're talking about everything else.
Yeah
well, you know, it just hopefully it turns around, but who knows.
Well, we're gonna talk to some people today who
that are helping doing that.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
Maybe my glass will be half full a little bit.
I mean, I was just
maybe.
I was like, we're going to put some positivity in that class. Absolutely. So, with that, my friends are here. Our friends are here.
Indeed.
And I do this every single time. It's just like, you know, am I introducing you or you're introducing yourself? I feel like no one does a better introduction than people introducing themselves because I can never do the appropriate justice. But I am going to start with you, Sarah.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm
And
great.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Welcome to Terms of Service. We're so happy to have you.
So excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. You know, at Blind Barber, as we typically do. But yes, Sarah, and who else are you here with?
I'm here with Darren Gest, my partner in Chicago Chef's Cook.
Darren, feel free to bring up that mic.
Guy to the right of Chef Sarah.
Right, I was just
I have a ticket to the show, I promise.
Okay, great. I was just like, you know, you're here too.
It's actually funny. I love listening to you both speak, and I find myself sitting here as your guest, just listening, and I'm actually surprised I have to talk now. I'm just like listening to a podcast, so I'll try to fire it up a bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're just, and it's
a great listen.
Yeah, and that's a great compliment.
It's a great listen.
Like, I don't know, and we just get to look at each other and be like, yeah, people are listening to this,
but people are though, and that's like sometimes a little bit scary.
But it's amazing.
I say a lot of random things, and I'm hoping they're finding the nugget in there. The kernel of gold. Please find it.
Absolutely. So
Well, we're all here on a Sunday morning, so
We wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And thank you for having us, both of you. We are two of the many listeners that you just referenced. So they exist, and they're here.
They're real.
They're real.
They're real.
So we're guests and fans of the show. But yeah, we
I am
wouldn't-
emotionally soft right now, so I will yeah. Okay, great. I
Yeah,
love that. Thank
we
you.
wouldn't be anywhere else on a Sunday, and we have a lot of great things to share, and we're excited to share with your audience. So much to cover, guys.
Perfect. Well, then we have to
start at one place.
Yeah,
though.
we have to start at the beginning. Nariba, go ahead.
Astrology. What do you know about your signs? Do you know them?
I'm a Pisces.
Nice.
Love it.
That'd be hard though. Feelings?
Like they're amped up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
You're like, yep. I'm
But
yeah.
also known for being compassionate almost to a fault, and then the most severe of cutoffs if you make it to the boiling point. So
Ooh.
pretty badass also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah. How does that track? Does that sound
It takes a lot.
appropriate?
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get to the end though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to really like push it.
I don't think I would have that in me. Like, as the daughter of a Pisces, I'm like, I don't want to see where it gets scary. I'm just going to stop now.
But it's amazing because the compassion piece, for those who know Chef Sarah Stegner, that's really she leads with that very naturally. And when you think of Chef Sarah, it truly is, it's compassion.
Thank you.
It's sincerity and compassion and humility. It's just very beautiful part of her soul that I think is one of the reasons why we're able to connect through Chicago Chefs Cook on so many levels with so many people, is that the sincerity and authenticity of knowing that we're doing this for the right reasons. It exudes from Sarah. So
Well,
Pisces, done.
before we get into all of that, Darren, what is your
Darren,
sign?
let's hear it.
I'm a Virgo. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and analyze a Virgo, please.
I love a Virgo. It is exhausting being on 24/7 because I feel like even in your dreams,
That's true.
you're kind of like, what is it when you when you're awake but you're
Daydreaming?
dreaming? No. It's like when you become like aware when you're dreaming and you're like, I gotta fix this.
Is that
like
lucid?
Yes,
Lucid
lucid
dreams?
dreaming.
yeah.
I'm a Virgo, so I know lucid dreams. Yeah.
Yes. It's like that. It's like you just have to be who you are all the time, and I know it's exhausting, but also y'all are the reason that I'm making it out in the world. Virgos, y'all have a plan. It is structured. A lot of things that we take for granted have been created by Virgos.
Yeah.
Virgo rising is the only thing holding me together because I am 2 fire signs just out here in the world. So y'all are doing the work.
Amazing.
Also, you have Beyonce, so.
Well, I didn't want to lead with it, but
It's fair.
I can always pull that card
Yeah.
if I need to.
You're like, we have Beyonce.
Yeah.
It's like y'all are the Ravenclaws.
Right.
Yes.
All right, cool. So we know what we're working with because you really, I was like, it has to be either Virgo or Aquarius based on the in-depth follow-up on what is factual about you, chef, but also, you're on. I like it.
Yeah.
You're always be
Beyonce,
connected. Always be connected.
Always be connected.
The ABCs.
Absolutely. So before we really dive in, I would love to hear a bit about your respective backgrounds, starting with you, Sarah. And I know that we have this bush in front of us,
Listen,
but I actually kind of love it because it
The bush
provides
is
some
nice.
nice texture.
I like the bush.
So, yeah.
I like plants.
That's
We
great.
know this.
Perfect. Yeah. So a little bit of your
yourself right now?
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
I know that's
Yeah.
awkward, but
It can be.
Yeah.
Okay, so I own Prairie Grass Cafe up in Northbrook. I have a partner, George Bambaras, who's also a chef, which has made the quality of life a lot better in the restaurant, that there's two of us.
Right.
I was one of the founders of Green City Market 25 years ago.
Amazing.
And I've kind of dedicated a lot of my time to being a spokesperson for local and sustainable
yes.
over the years. And I feel like Green City made an impact in Chicago with that movement to protect our land and our agriculture and our source of food. And that's like core to being a chef.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been my mission. And then as it has evolved during the pandemic, I helped Beverly Kim start her fundraiser, her non-for-profit, the Abundant Setting, which is helping working women and mothers in the kitchen achieve their goals. And she's done a beautiful job with it, and I've been right there trying to lift her up and support the movement.
That sounds so magical.
Thank you.
People don't even want to talk about like being a parent in general in the food service industry. I stress about that a lot because I feel like I'm going to be in it for a long time, but I definitely want to have a family. And even when I was like looking at sous chefing again, I was looking to work under women who are raising families and are running their own restaurants. And it is hard to find it. And it's even harder when it's all working because I feel like the system is not set up for success when it comes to having a family working in this industry.
The restaurant system is set up for success in general, but then add on being a working mother. It's really challenging. It has been an amazing, in-depth experience trying to figure it out, and it takes a lot of people to help.
Oh yeah, the village.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Every time.
And then we started Chicago Chefs Cook. It kind of evolved so the restaurants were shut down, and then the war broke out in Ukraine, and Tony Priolo was the actual one who put the call in and got everybody together initially, and we were like, we'll help. Actually, it was like, I'll help, and then as the information started to flow in, I thought, I'm not equipped to do this. There's a lot of like emailing and tracking, and I was like, Darren, can you please help? And Ida Davidman, can you please help? And they both were yes, and then came on as full partners. So we raised, I don't know, somewhere around $700,000 for World Central Kitchen.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was huge. It was all the food community in Chicago that answered. It wasn't like huge corporations that were coming in and sponsoring it. It was hard-earned grassroots money, and we did it 2 years to the day when they shut our restaurants down for COVID. 2 years to the day. So
we're gonna get into we're gonna get into more of that. But yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. One thing that I want to make sure that we do before we carry on, Darren.
I'm up.
Yeah, I was like, it's
Where'd you come from?
Walk up to the mic, my friend.
have the
Let's
mic.
go.
Here.
Hear a little bit.
Now or never.
No pressure.
Exactly.
You
I was
can't
just
introduce
like,
yourself.
You're in the game, coach.
Right.
Let's go.
Can I introduce yourself at the end of the podcast? It would be
I
more
was like,
awkward than just talking about yourself.
I was like, but you can. I was just like, you listen to terms
the
of service. We
ADHD
go all
is
over.
strong within the terms of service community.
Right.
We'd
Right.
get it.
they would understand.
We'd
Okay,
understand.
I appreciate it.
No judgments here.
Born and raised in Los Angeles, son of a baker. So
Is this a song?
Yeah.
it may be. It may be.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should work on that.
If it's not, it's going to be.
It's gonna be.
Yeah.
Out there.
But
So
by
I-
you, so those that are listening, don't try it.
Right.
There you go.
No need.
Copyright.
So son of a baker, and I've always just been very comfortable around kitchens and the spirit, I think, of creators and chefs. Sarah and I met at Green City Market. So Sarah obviously is one of the founders and reasons why Green City is here in our city. I served on the board of Green City Market. Sarah actually interviewed me. And so, it was on the board. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I passed the sniff test, which was nice.
Nice.
And so I was immersed. I mean, that was an education for me. It was during COVID. It was an education for me to understand, a little bit more about our farmers and our land and about sustainability and food access. So it was a great education and deep dive into that arena and sort of some of the more meaningful elements of the food system. And through that, we had a lot of meaningful conversations with chefs, and that evolved into, from dialogue to, I think, action.
We interviewed something like 30 chefs and farmers, and Darren and I did that together.
Yeah. We called it Organic Conversations. So if you need the next podcast,
we're very anchored in a post-shift conversation.
So we have
we'll take a little from that. Yeah.
So if anyone needs a song,
that was great.
Right.
That was amazing.
So we have "Son of a Baker" as our song, "Organic Conversations" as our next podcast.
Yeah,
we're creating a media empire.
I'm just like we're doing a lot here, and I'm here
speak
for
it
it
into existence.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, so I was like, you got to put that out into the universe, honey.
What I just realized as you were both talking about Green City Market is that I did a morning cooking demo for Green City Market, and it was when there was a winter. It was an indoor, walkabout situation. And I remember it was the first time that I was actually in charge of myself. It was the first time as an executive chef that they were like, okay, you're going to go on TV. You're going to make an example of the thing you're going to be cooking, and you're going to talk about Green City Market, and you cannot say bad words. And I was like,
okay.
Oh, I got this.
You're like, I'm going to take a moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was one of the first experiences of working an event where I was doing it as myself, for myself, and not standing in for my chef. So shout out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah.
Y'all did that. Well, not you. This is before.
No, I can't take credit for that.
So you can take credit for that.
The thing is, you doing the demo is so on point that it teaches people how to use what is in season, what is available, what is right there when they don't have that information. And then that translates to health and knowledge and community. And it is right at the heart of Chicago. You did good.
In Green City, I mean, we're seeing this theme where obviously there's a big impact that Green City provides the city, but it's also a place of education and growth, like you just mentioned. And people, it becomes a foundation for a lot of great things that people do after Green City or in addition to Green City.
I mean, whenever my nibblings come in from Naperville and it's on Saturday morning, we're going to the zoo. You know where we're at. I'm getting them a little snack.
Right.
Walking past, some farm stand, being like, what you got going on over there, Pete? And they love it. My nephew will eat an entire pint of tomatoes, and I am terrified to know what happens when he gets home. But that's not up to me. I just spend auntie money. And it's they're a lot more fascinated now when they're in Naperville and they're walking past the farmer's market. They're like, Auntie Reba said we could eat this. And I'm like, I don't know if I specifically said that, but he knows that he can get away with it. Dangerous. But yeah, no.
The role of the end.
Yeah. I just come in and out.
That's what you do.
Yep. Destruction. I accidentally got a present for him.
But it's the same thing with the gay uncle.
True. That's what I'm saying. I'm not.
It's just I'm a godfather out here. I'm just like.
Bring the fun and then you bring them back home.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was just like, tell your parents how much I love them, and you go continue on with having the best day.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've trailed away from where we started.
No, absolutely, which is what we do. But also,
circle.
I'm just like, I'm following.
I know, but if I start talking about kids, it gets weird, and then we're going down a different
you're fine.
tangent.
No,
so,
you're good.
yeah.
So,
They're just better than us as adults, is all I'm going to say before we move on.
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like just.
It's not even that. It's just the way that the world is seen through their eyes. We can never go back to that. We know too much.
I know. But anyhow,
Yeah.
so I would love to, talk about, all of the work that you all have been doing.
How you've grown since the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will let you take it away, and just if you provide a little bit of background into the organization, and I'm gonna put all of the shine on both of you right now.
We'll just ad lib over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we started, it was to raise money for World Central Kitchen through that fundraiser that was for the refugees in Ukraine. And it built slowly. It was kind of a natural progression. And it was chefs asking us, I want to do this. What do you think? And one of the things that happened during the Ukraine experience was, Tigis Reda of Demera?
Yes.
Ethiopian food. She did an interview for us because we had a lot of press coming for that Ukraine moment. And she said to me, are you comfortable with me talking about my own experience as a refugee? And I was like, yeah, of course. And she said, I'm thrilled. I understand that I need to do this because I know what it means to be a refugee and to experience that, and we need to help these people. But I wish that people would also know about what's going on in my world.
Yes.
And at that point, she did it in a interview. She talked about it in an interview with Eater, and there were a panel of chefs there. And every one of those chefs said, we're going to help. Every one of them said, we're going to help. So then that was our second fundraiser. It took a little time. We did it at the Puerto Rican Museum. And it was for the refugees, the women and children of the fallout in the war in Tigray.
Wow.
So that was very different feel, very different experience. But it was so many chefs that, came forward and were willing to help.
So is it safe to say, just for people listening that are trying to, just bring it all together as much as they can, it's just like you're a centralized resource and solution to cultural misfortune. I'm I'm
I
trying
know,
to
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's so you're sort of like a hub for people who have the time and the means to help facilitate raising funds for different issues. Do you ever work through like charities specifically?
Right.
Well, let me just qualify.
Okay, so literally, we don't have the time.
I wrote this down.
Everything you said was accurate except the timepiece.
Well, this is the thing.
Yeah.
I literally wrote down, Chef says yes. It's the hospitality model of like, we are doing so much that a lot of us, even though we love it so much, it's so rote that you feel like you're doing nothing. And so when you get the opportunity to do something that's different than menu building, R&D, and it feels like it has more, we are drawn to that in the hospitality industry because I feel like a lot of us get very comfortable and sort of complacent in what we're doing because we do it day in, day out, and it's built into us. It's like we've been domesticated to be hospitable.
But then we also think of how, hospitality in and of itself, at least here in Chicago, which, we can speak at length about, it truly represents community, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yes.
there is this call to action of community, like, you're taking care of the person next to you with,
Yes.
No sort of expectation. Yes, it can feel transactional, so on and so forth, but it comes from being a naturally hospitable individual, right? And
Yes.
therefore, it's just like when you hear of people in need, you are responding to a need for a community,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
That there's that element of chefs are leaders
Yes.
within their own organization,
Yeah.
but then in a broader picture that we are the advocates for our land and
Yeah.
for our health and for food access. So it's a natural progression then when you see something wrong in the world, not to look the other way, but to stand and deliver and make a point to do something.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's all really well said, and I think coming back to the kind of crux of the question of what is Chicago Chefs Cook? It's we're a humanitarian organization that cares about the issues that chefs care about. That's our sort of approach to the universe. In some cases, that's the war in Ukraine, like Chef Sarah mentioned. In other cases, it's the crisis in Tigray.
We worked with Shy Care and raised money
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
with Mariano's in that cookbook that we created from chefs.
And what's
Wow.
beautiful about this is, this is not a platform or a position that myself, Chef Sarah, Ida David Min, Melissa Clark, who kind of round out our leadership team, we're not hand-picking the issues. These are chefs coming to us as leaders and them saying, look, fill in the blank, whether it's the floods in Emilia-Romagna or otherwise, this is important. This is happening in my community. This touches my soul. I represent this part of the earth. Sometimes it's Chicago. Sometimes it's the U.S. Sometimes it's global. Hey, Chicago Chefs Cook, can you help me fundraise and educate on this particular cause so that we can help the people in need?
The sense of community that Chicago instills in its residents is unmatched. And I think that chefs coming together and leading the way in a change that they want to be a part of is amazing.
It is.
And it only speaks to the hospitality of our community.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And
I feel like that's so valuable and extremely well said, to where it's such a dynamic model when you compare it to other organizations that are out in the market, right? Because it seems to be, it's just like, okay, for X amount of reasons, we're going to go ahead and focus on X, Y, and Z. But to actually respond based off of your own community to assist others, and it's very nomadic in scope and impact, I think that is extremely, extremely brilliant and really beautiful in practice. Absolutely.
Thank you. And we've been really cognitive too about what the Chicago culinary community means. That we wanted to make sure that we had all different kinds of ethnic representation. And not only that, but a Michelin star next to a barbecue, which are now, we know from Texas that Michelin stars are also barbecue restaurants,
Yes.
which is very cool.
From all over the world. Like some of the best Michelin star places are all in one market in freaking South Korea. Yes. And there's one in China as well. That's the thing. We know it in this very closed off loop here in the US because it's the westernized version of it, I guess. But it's depending on where you are. If you just make something that's so good that they wanted to put it on a map that you should check it out when you're driving around the country, you know? But it still holds a value in the history of how this community was built. So I know I rag a lot on Michelin star places, but in other countries, they're really popping off. America, same, I guess.
Yes. So I would love to hear a bit about how do you approach support and, you know, advocacy and resource sharing and, you know, fundraising within the organization? Sarah was like, let the Virgo take it away.
Yeah, right.
He has the words, right?
I'll take that one. It's a really important question because it gets to the operations of the organization. So we talked a little bit about the spirit of the organization. The operations really boil down to, like you said, fundraising, media and PR, communication, and very careful and intentional planning. So I think two things are maybe important to us. One, obviously, you know, we are here to raise funds. Uniquely, our organization, we typically don't take the proceeds in-house. We partner with another charity that we feel is going to make the biggest impact on that particular issue.
Smart.
Right?
Amazing.
So in some cases, it's World Central Kitchen. In other cases, it's Shy Care, like Chef Sarah mentioned. And Eric Williams' Virtue Leadership Development Programs.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So you know, we view ourselves as a platform and an amplifier that then helps identify where these funds are going to be most valuable and utilized quickest and most effectively. So that's actually a really big part of what we do is we want to fundraise, but we want to identify the organization and the partner, the 501c3, that is going to activate this mission ASAP. Because we kind of have that just-in-time model. Right, war in Ukraine breaks out, boom, we're there. You know, there's a fire in Maui, boom, we're there. And understanding the landscape of the partners and the people on the ground who can make the biggest impact, that's key for us. So we do a lot of diligence there. And then the fundraising, you know, I think that happens. So Ida Davidman is our director of sponsorship. She's amazing. And I
agreed. She's wonderful.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what sign she is, but it's one of the good ones.
We'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out. Absolutely.
Right. Stay tuned. ...
Sure. Yeah.
Part 2 was Chicago Chefs.
Absolutely. Yes.
She's a force.
So grounded and smart.
She's our director of finance.
Love that.
Speaking of sponsorship and fundraising.
That narrows it down a bit.
Yes.
I'm not going to make any assumptions, but I'll think on it.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll do a little internal research before this drop.
I call it creeping.
Right.
Yes.
No, there's no shame in that.
Thank you.
You know, they are our sort of, you know, extension into the broader commerce arena, right? So, you know, whereas our focus is, you know, very much the culinary arena, we have these really strong leaders on the team who have these great relationships with, whether it's a corporate sponsor, individual donor, or otherwise. Understanding the landscape and knowing what is important to each of our stakeholders becomes really key in these, you know, moments of fight or flight.
You know what's crazy to me? You all have put more care and grace into how you operate than the U.S. government does in believing that if you talk to someone who knows what they're doing and all about the things, and you go to them and you say, hey, is this correct? And they say no. You move on, you do something else. Y'all are doing that. You're fact checking and verifying that this organization that is already established and has been doing all the groundwork instead of just coming in and being like, I'm going to just give money to this area. Good luck.
Yeah, it's
You're targeting. Yeah.
We are, and I think understanding who we're working with, whether it's chefs or partners or media or otherwise, really knowing them has, number one, it's just more fulfilling. And two, it's actually made them partners of ours in this kind of ecosystem. And it's just it's a robust and significant and wonderful way of, and I think the compassion that Sarah has brought, that's actually set the spirit of how we approach people. It's not, hey, we need you to cook. Hey, hands out. We need some money. There's a tragedy.
Yeah. Right.
It's the connective tissue is there.
Yeah. Well, I know that we.
Yeah.
I like it.
I know that we are going to be dropping this like right after everything that you're working on right now with Los Angeles and chefs here in Chicago. If you're able and you feel like it's topical, I would love to hear kind of how your approach was with that, and because I think that turnaround and the amount of chefs that I saw from the social media posts, I was like, oh, I know them. I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. And then also like the sponsorship or partnership with Lifeway. I think that's amazing. So, I'm interested in hearing a little bit about how that came to be, if you're comfortable with sharing some of that from a foundational aspect.
We started, both Ida and myself and Darren started to get texts from chefs saying, what are you guys going to do to help with the LA fires and the recovery? And definitely the sentiment is to help around the restaurant community there. Mm-hmm. And that connection where, when you think about it, like, how can I affect the greater Chicago community as an individual? It's daunting. You can't. But I do have an effect and a voice within my own community that reaches every aspect of the Chicago community through chefs. And to do the same thing and extend that to our community in LA. And I feel like that's what we picked up on. And when we put it out there, didn't want to do a party. How does that feel thinking about something like that when there's much tragedy?
Thank you,
like,
thank you,
Absolutely.
Is
that y'all are really doing it, because sometimes working an event
and like consciously doing it as well, like it feels curated, it feels intentional,
y'all are
which
taking
leads
the
to
time.
the impact, which helps fuel the sustainability of it.
Yes.
It's not a one-off like, hey, this is what we're doing, come and have like a great time, feel good about yourself, and hope that the dollar makes it to the person in need. So
none of that in 2025.
Yeah, but honestly, like, thank you for that.
The events are, there's certain events that we have to provide a bit of the infrastructure and the education, like, hey world, this is important. Then there's other events like the wildfires in Los Angeles that the world sort of comes to us. And I think this event was the reason why we're experiencing so much interest and participation, is that people really wanted to do something, and they wanted to do something that was immediate, meaningful, but they needed that outlet and that channel to do it through. And I think we also serve, sometimes we serve as that outlet, because frankly, all we did was say, sure, we'll organize something. Sarah mentioned people started texting us and said, what are you guys going to do for LA? We didn't have the answer, but we did have the, I think, interest, and the partners to create something. And that's what we did. We created something to give the city the outlet to do what the city and what the chefs do best. I think that there's knowing your role in each of these moments is really important. The chefs didn't need us to diagnose necessarily what they're going to do specifically. It was more providing the backdrop.
Oh man, you just said one of the main tenets of Confucianism, which is shut your hole and know your role. I learned that in Asian religions. Thank you, University of Vermont.
Yeah, there it is.
You nailed it.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
mean, obviously he said it better than that, but that's how my professor wrote it on the board. So
shut your hole and know your role.
Damn right.
You know what? You can't. Done.
You can't
Podcast
really
over.
say that.
I mean, it just but you can.
You can say it, but people.
I was
don't
but you can't say it to someone else.
No,
it
has to be within
kind
the
of this
context
mentality
of the
that you embody.
conversation.
You kind of go from there, absolutely. And I think that for me specifically, just on the side of terms of service, we always want to figure out ways to be resources and assets to our community while also making sure that we're meeting our colleagues where they're at, right? Like in all aspects of the hospitality experience, because the hospitality spectrum is vast. And I think that from a consumer standpoint, it seems very cut and dry, and we were all of us here were very fortunate to go to an event that you all had at Chicago Q, yes, with Art Smith, to raise money and awareness and support for the hurricanes down in Florida. I believe specifically Art was from Jasper. Sorry, I knew it was a J.
And then,
Art. Yes.
The North Carolina coast.
Yeah, and so that and not only did we see colleagues through different aspects of the industry there, which was absolutely great. It was a reminder how support shifts in every capacity, right? So there were media there that we all know who each other is, so we don't have to call each other out, but doing their due diligence and spreading awareness. But then also there were industry enthusiasts, there were chefs there was just people that cared, but then also there were just people that were curious, which I think is such a cornerstone of the work that you all are doing, because you make it accessible, exactly, and you make it accessible and therefore become sustainable through every single aspect that you are activating. So
you all being you sort of talked a little bit about all the different profiles that were there.
Yeah, we paid attention to everybody.
You forgot about the kids.
I mean, you all.
Chef's kids were there.
Yes.
Yeah, chef's kids were there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My kids were there.
Yeah.
It was great. It creates a really lovely energy.
Yeah.
But I think the role that you all played in the room, what we really admired was you all came as we sort of used the word before as partners.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there experiencing it, immersed in it, you're eating the food. Seeing you all was it was just warm, and I think we really appreciate the way that you all approached the event, not as coverage but as community. And it was just great. So when we got the invite for the podcast, we were thrilled. But
yeah.
You're right. I think it matters who's in the room. I think the perspectives matter, and ultimately, getting a diverse array of profiles together under one roof, it'll create good.
Right.
and create stickiness. And,
Right.
the relationships from that event, from Art Smith's event, which was really, it was highly successful. That has parlayed into additional moments of connectivity, and
Yes.
those folks are helping out with Los Angeles now, and
It's the growth.
it's the
circle.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so if I may, because we've had multiple conversations, outside of this recording, and so I just think that it's really important to where it's like I never see a separation. I never see a divide. I just see community. I see culture. I see impact. I see activation. And so I think that it's really important for us to have a dialogue in regards to some of the organizations or chefs specifically, because for us, we focus on like a generational dialogue, right? Like, I remember when I first started in this industry, and there's someone that was brought up earlier that like just seemed like completely out of reach, and then like seeing that person, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is absolutely phenomenal. And so we're always trying to toe that line of being accessible on both parts, while also acknowledging how we can really create a better environment together. And I think through your organization, that is kind of our sweet spot, right? Because the way that we talk about the industry is very different, very different than what other
People's
individuals
experiences
would
have been,
convey. Because we talk about the hard realities of it, and it's not just anchored in back of house, not just anchored in front of house. It's anchored through a cultural lens, right? And so I do, like, I wonder, are there any like partners that you have that you want to celebrate, that have done like a really great job of like kind of bridging the kind of like the foundation for them of hospitality to how hospitality is operationally now within their concepts and support, if that makes sense? Like, I'm thinking a lot of things in my mind. I'm just trying to like
Are you
outline.
like saying who's doing it right?
Like who?
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
who
Like
you fuck
who's
with?
doing it right?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's what you're asking. Who?
Yes.
Who, okay, and so since
Yeah.
we
In
have
the most
contact with
diplomatic
all
and
these,
softest fashion.
okay, if I can start. There's a lot of people out there doing it right.
Great.
But I have to say that one of the people that stands out to me that has made a huge impact in a very quiet way is Greg Wade from Public and Quality Bread. That 75% of his flour that he uses in that massive bakery is locally sourced and from regenerative agriculture from Spence Farm. And then the other is the other 25% is also sustainably raised. And setting an example that he can do that and still make money and create a positive environment and support women within his organization. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and he's very humble and quiet. And he has been a huge support for Chicago Chef's Cook. There's a lot of people that have stepped up and are doing things right. And it seems like, one of the things that I've learned from this experience with Chicago Chef's Cook is it may be a very small thing that you do. Like for this LA fundraiser, I'm donating $2 from my soup, $2. And I hope to sell, that's one of my biggest sellers. Everybody orders the soup, especially at lunch. It'll be compounded. And everybody else that's putting in $1 or $2. But when you start to see the amount of restaurants that are doing this, cumulative, we're going to raise a lot of money. We're going to raise a lot of money, and we're going to have an impact together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you see is, maybe Greg Wade made a huge statement there. and had the structure and support to be able to do it. But there's so many chefs that are trying to do the right thing, not only public facing, but within their restaurants. And you're like,
that's what I was alluding to.
This is sort of like a general. There are folks who view the world as, what can you do for me, and then there are folks who view the world as, what can I do for you? How can I help? And I think the people who represent the latter. So Greg Wade, 110% all-star. I'm gonna add. We need to make that connection.
You heard it here.
Yeah. So Greg Wade. So you mentioned Tigas Retta. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Just chat with Ryan.
Yeah.
So we have Greg Wade, we have Tigas Retta from Demera, Heather Bublik and DeAndre Carter from Soul and Smoke. Speaking of incredible barbecue, Amanda Puck from Mariano's.
Yes, I know Amanda Puck. Like PR extraordinaire. She's like one of the sweetest people I've ever.
Incredible, just an incredible energy. And Darnell Reed from Luella's, Southern. I mean, these folks are
right there.
Yeah.
Sahil Sethi.
Yeah.
From Cipher.
Yeah. So super quick, so when people reach out, are they reaching out via text, email? Is there okay, great. So there's
informal.
no centralized way. It's just they have to.
We have a website.
We
have a website.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, especially when things are moving so quickly, do you find that you're getting a lot of, interest through the website, or is it just someone's passing your number along to someone else and then you're navigating all of these text messages?
It's grassroots.
Yeah.
It's grassroots.
So it's very okay.
Totally.
Cool.
It's grassroots, it's relationships, it's Instagram, text,
Yeah.
quick phone calls.
Yeah.
Don't give
It's
us too much
DMs,
credit.
It's all of that.
Yeah. Don't give us too much credit for infrastructure.
Okay.
There's no central repository. We have an info at chicagochefscook.org. It's
Which
rarely used.
Ida's son monitors it, and he's done a beautiful job to help us. His name is Cade Misner.
Yeah.
And he's been great with all the tech side, and he's the one that's going to answer and get it to the right person. Cool. He's on it. Yeah.
I love that.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, engagement is a very significant part of it, right? If people don't feel as if you're meeting them with the urgency in which they're reaching out, then I mean, you have a very small window to capture that, or you lose it, unfortunately.
I hate that our attention span is so closed.
But I think it's a really important question of, how does it happen? And yes, it's grassroots, but going back to what you were saying, Justin, is, when you're sitting next to somebody of a certain, level of accomplishment and you either feel the care or you don't. I think because of how grassroots this is, we get to know people in these moments of deep pain and confusion, heartbreak, and it sort of demystifies and humanizes a lot of the folks that you were sort of maybe talking about, these folks that we'll either put on a pedestal or they're super acclaimed or whatever the case is. But when there's a moment of meaning for them, that grassroots kind of process, none of that matters. And it's just, it's like I'm texting, my best friend from childhood. The humanity and the humbleness comes out very quickly, which is why I love it's chaos, but I love how we do what we do, because we interact with folks in such an organic kind of way, that I think how really does matter.
I feel like that's my gay audacity. I will never be excited about a celebrity unless it is Rihanna.
Right.
I have met so many people, and I'm just like, you're just a person, I'm just a person, we are people together. But I think that is my gay audacity. I'm like, I will talk at you until you like me enough so that I can schmooze you into being a part of something bigger than yourself, unless you're Rihanna.
And you're very good at what you do, so I'm sure that works for you.
Okay, so it does work for me.
Yeah.
He would like me to be better at it.
Oh,
like if I
right?
could say terms of service more than once during an episode.
Okay.
Yeah, because every single time it feels like the first time, to where it's like,
Remember
we're
when
doing
we
the thing.
tried to do an ad?
We tried.
And
Yeah.
it took me way too long to say it. Yeah, we can't
that
do
was
that.
that was for.
We can't I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's a growth culture. Justin's setting like a culture of achievement. You have to have, it's a North Star.
He's been trying.
I've been
Year
trying,
5, baby. We're gonna do it this year.
Okay.
I was like, we're
$10 every time you say terms of service on the table.
That would be incentive, dude.
email Jonas. Great. Jonas will take care
I
of
have
it.
to send an email.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
I'll do it. I mean, no, I won't.
No, she
But
won't.
I will be better at trying
Okay.
terms of service.
Yeah. Remember, I have always said, and you agreed at a certain point,
Yes.
that we commit to the try.
Yeah, 2.5 years in. Yeah, you're right.
That's
Okay.
powerful. That's
Yeah,
powerful.
it's just
words.
like, we
commit
have to be able to commit to try. Like every time we show up, being present, making sure that, these narratives matter, making sure that, everyone that shares space with us actually feels empowered and comfortable and really just the best version of themselves to speak their truth. And for us, and I can talk about this at length, it matters so much because we never speak against other elements of hospitality media. We always speak about the benefit of organic, natural narratives, and also having it be cultural. We don't want to sit here and be like, oh, everything is like fairy tales and roses, and the hospitality industry is like this, that, and the other. It's just like percentages are high about substance abuse, about drug abuse, about mental health issues. Like those are very real things here. So in order for us to make sure that we are sustainable as a population, we have to acknowledge it for ourselves, and we have to make sure that the people that are covering our successes also cover the authentic journey in which that encapsulates all of it.
And also, I guess with that being said, do you find a lot of the call-ins that y'all receive or hear about, are any of them for things that support our industry in return?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that. Mm-hmm. A lot of talk about where's the right channel that we can. In fact, that's something that dealing with LA we're looking for is where do you find that access for restaurants and chefs that are going to help our own industry. Right. And that's one of the reasons with the abundant setting. It is very niche, but it's powerful because it shouldn't be. It should be like across the board that people want to support women within the industry. But the numbers are like 54% come out of culinary school are women, and then 6 to 7% are in charge of independently owned restaurants. And
Numbers get smaller and smaller.
yeah, so something's happening in there that isn't isn't sustainable and isn't positive.
I can tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
But
sure, but a lot of this is like you need that mentor, you need somebody to go to and talk to.
I think, okay, so I agree with you, but I will also say, as someone who ran my own kitchen, I did a lot of the things that I wish that my chefs were able to do for us. And I like still get like messages from my own line cooks being like, you pushed us to be better chefs. Like, you didn't treat us like line cooks. You treated us like we were all running our own restaurant at our station. And when you're not feeling good, you're not coming in. Like, if you need a mental health day, that was something I told them all the time, because I would call out of work because I was too depressed to work, but I would never call out because I was actually sick. And so when I became a chef, I was like, I tried to create an environment that worked for my staff, but I got so much pushback from like the owners, even though they had nothing to do with that. Like, it wasn't affecting their labor because I was working 6 days a week. It was the fact that if you don't make the changes yourself to create healthier boundaries for these like little fish that are going out into this big pond, it's only going to like keep happening. So I think that for me, I would like to see a lot more of this go into the silent battles that we are facing, which is changing the culture to not only like work good, be fast, try hard. I think it should be, you can do all these things, but you can also be gentle with yourself, and you don't have, I experienced burnout. So what I guess I'm trying to say without going too far away from it is, the people who are trying to make a change are the ones experiencing the most burnout and are leaving the industry, and the people are trying to just like feel a sense of ownership for themselves. So how do we get the people who have made it through the burnout, can see the other side, like how do we get them to have a farther reach in the way that we treat each other? That's the silent killer in, like us.
Right. And it becomes a silo, right? Like, everyone feels as if they're on an island of good intention, but the responsibility of acting alone, executing alone, like all of these things become more of a responsibility versus their commitment to something good to help, because they're still burdened by the actual workload to share all of that. And that is where I Noe and I are on the same page, to where it's really important to truly acknowledge how are we supposed to take care of ourselves to ensure that we're able to take care of others. And I think that we lose ourselves, or there's a very significant aspect of the hospitality industry that loses ourselves through the guise of good intention.
It's the oxygen mask theory. Do you put it on yourself first, or do you?
You're supposed to.
This is like slightly off topic, but
have you met us?
I was like, I fit right in here.
Yeah.
Like, I read that people that have that creative moment, whether you're cooking and prepping, or like for me as well, when I'm working on the projects to make a difference, that what happens in your brain is the same thing that happens when you meditate. And for me, I heard a lot of people were saying self-care, take time. I don't have time.
I can't do that.
I don't have time.
Yeah. Right.
But I'll tell you, when I'm in the zone and I'm working on this project and it's clicking, I restore my soul. It's where I feel connected to the people that I'm working with, to my immediate team, to you, to the chefs. And that is where I feel like my energy comes from. And it's my oxygen.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I really feel like chefs have that.
Cool. Yeah.
And there needs to be a balance, and so much needs to be done, but that small decision, that small movement, that small thought of kindness can make a huge difference in somebody's world, and then in turn in your world.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. So well said.
Yeah. Number one, we need to get you back into a position where you are leading and managing others, because I think that's...
I do not say that out loud. I've been dipping and dodging any of manager work.
I think positioning and so identifying the people who do it right, and we just went through the list. Putting those folks in a position of influence and greater connectivity and availability than just their four walls. That's really important. And I think for Chicago Chefs Cook, we've sort of, it's part of what we do is, I am not the face of Chicago Chefs Cook. Sarah in some cases is, because Sarah's a chef, but I think the chefs,
like we see both of you.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, your face.
The chef that raises their hand and says, I want to lead X cause, they become the leader of that discussion. And, we're not overly discerning, but we want to make sure that the right folks are put in that position of leadership and amplifying their voice. And I think to your point, it's really important that those folks are not just leading from a fundraising standpoint, but they're also leading in the how and how they operate. And frankly, I think it's a good challenge and a good reminder to how we create our sort of template of what does it mean to lead a Chicago Chefs Cook event. We've put a lot of thought into it. The how is really important, and the how are things like, these sort of nuanced moments of, are we asking too much of people's time? Are we asking people to dip into margins a little bit, here or there? Is there a philosophical agreement that any event we do, a chef will receive a stipend for their product, right? It's how we do this is just as important as the outcome.
I was literally like, those are some of the things I was like asking this morning. I was like, that's what I want to talk about. Like, how do they know where to do these things and when to like switch from one model to another? But I guess I should have known better since y'all listen to people.
Yeah.
And take their advice when they know a little bit more about this exact thing than you. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Good job, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's Chef Nikos Kapaneros, he wears the leadership and the Chicago Chefs Cook banner on his sleeve. On his other sleeve is always going to be a flag of Greece. But on
guess that.
Yeah, I was like, that name is very specific.
Yeah.
But he is also someone who just does it right, and he's vocal, and he's human, and sincere. And we're not here to educate or diagnose, but the partners that we work with and choose to work with us, and we choose to work with them, they come to the table with a lot of the qualities that you mentioned. I think it's just a matter of ensuring that we continue to work with the people that are going to advance the industry and the causes forward, but it has to be done the right way.
I just watched a video about how they did this with foxes in Russia, and they bred them to domesticity. We're just going to do that. It's going to take like 70 years. But you'll get there.
Got it.
I mean, Chicago, before Chicago Chefs Cook, when you dial back, has had strong chefs that have come forward and made a difference in our communities. This is something that isn't new with us. It's a build. And I think having what Chicago Chefs Cook has done is kind of level the playing field, that other people that may not have the infrastructure.
I was going to say it started a new foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It took the fundamentals from, this weird Midwestern gem and redirected
You're like
it.
coming at you hot from Trinidad and Tobago. you're like, here we go.
Listen.
And University of Vermont, babe. It is, yeah. I was like, shout out to Vermont.
Oh, God. Yeah, no.
Like, absolutely.
Chicago's a very special place, and I think that using what is already here to start a foundation for building out is smart. Y'all are doing it smart.
What Sarah said is right. It's sort of democratized chefs to be put in maybe positions of leadership and influence. It also has it's a recognition of the trend, and I think the shifting role that chefs play holistically, and it's a recognition of that. But the barrier to entry is very low.
Well, I mean, and that mirrors our work here with Terms of Service as well. Because obviously we have sat down with a spectrum of chefs and personalities, but I feel like our biggest impact comes from those that are often overlooked, and it's truly something special. When they are invited and they sit down with us and we're asking them genuine questions about who they are, what their background is, how they have come to navigate their space within hospitality, the challenges that they have faced, the aspirations that they have. All of these things matter, and I feel like this conversation is so important because we're on the same side, but on just opposite ends of it. It's just like, and I feel like that is so beautiful and wildly impactful, because therefore there's a bridge being built here, and that just helps. That just helps I mean, I can say sustainability all day, but like that just helps in my opinion, that helps the trajectory of the industry. It really does, for people to listen to something like this. Go ahead.
Just on a personal note, I've really gotten to know so many chefs in the community, and I came from a place of a lot of isolation, that out in the suburbs, and I'm working sometimes 6 nights a week. Mm-hmm. I'm working lunch shifts. When I'm off, I'm with my family. I have no time to connect.
And thank you so much for being here today on the last day of your mini vacay.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Happy to be here.
For real.
Yeah, I was like, on that note specifically, thank you.
But having that opportunity to get to know people, and then when you do that, it isn't like small talk. It's we're in the middle of a crisis when people's hearts are really open, and we start to break down the barrier. And that's when there is this layering of connectivity. And for me, it's been an education. Like I start to see what other people have gone through and what their lives are like, and what opens doors and what doesn't, and why I was isolated instead of connected. And I feel like that isn't just happened for me. It's happened across the board with so many chefs, particularly women.
Yes.
I think in the industry have really benefited from a lot of this connection. Call to action,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I will say that we are coming up on time.
I know.
However,
if he was gonna make another card.
I just have a few final questions as we ride off into the sunset with this amazing dialogue that I, again, am so thankful for. Yes. Yeehaw, babe. Let's go. I would love to, take a little bit of time to hear about the goals that you have for, this year, any sort of upcoming programming for the spring, summer, fall, anything that you can share, that you would like to spotlight, and, we can, go from there.
Will you tell them first about the March event, and then I'll talk about broader.
I think,
and that's on Pisces. Let's go, Darren.
Right. That was a directive.
Yes.
Let me stay in that lane. So yes, chef. So the we have a March event that we're really excited about, because as we mentioned, most of our events are real time. Something happens in 2 weeks, we rally the community and we're there. This event, we're trying to be a little bit more planful, and we're lucky enough to partner with the Four Seasons Chicago and the Adorn restaurant there.
Love.
And they've opened up their doors to us to host what we hope to be annual, but we don't really know. But it's an event to raise funds for Chicago Chefs Cook, so that Chicago Chefs Cook can maximize our value.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first models of an event where, I think the funds will go to building out our own organization and our own infrastructure.
Because we haven't taken any money.
We haven't taken any money, and the text messages work to an extent, but to make impact at scale, we need the resources. And
Justin tells me about this often.
Yes.
I'm a baby. I just be here.
You're right. You are so wise. Justin knows all. I think that's like.
Listen, I'm just doing.
I'll second
my best.
that, Justin.
I'm just doing my best.
But it's so funny that this event is the spirit of it is to build those reserves. But old habits die hard, because we've gone back and forth as a leadership team, and we're like, you know what? For that March 20th event at Four Seasons Chicago, and we hope you all come, maybe a percentage of those funds should go to X cause or Y cause.
Yeah, like a broader restaurant.
Right, and we're sort of we're playing with that and seeing what feels right, because it's really the DNA of us is to collect money and give. So we're going to balance it, but it's the first time we're doing an event like this. It's the first time that we're really thinking about scaling what we're doing, and it's the first time that we're taking a step back and saying, let's plan versus react.
Well, you're taking a step back to plan your next step forward.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And it's a moment of growth, so we're excited about it.
And I want to say that that was well said, Darren.
Yes,
well said. I want to say that,
and that's on Pisces.
And that's
Again. Yes.
that I hope that what happens is Chicago Chefs Cook becomes either a model or expands, that every city in this country reacts when there's an issue. And if we do it as a unified community of chefs, how much more impactful can we be? This can go so far that it's like, how many things can we address in a year and be impactful? But if we were to do it across the board. So these things of making connections with LA and Mary Sue Milliken and whatever chefs that are out there that have the wherewithal and the interest to be leaders within their community, to parallel what we're doing or to make it better.
I mean, this is just going back to the origin of social work, which is literally people feeding each other. And that is how shit has been done, specifically by bitches. I'm a bitches, since the beginning of literal time. Yeah. So, the model ain't broke. Yeah. We're just fixing it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's happening.
I know.
We gotta do it.
I was just like, I did the sigh, which I do apologize for. Yeah, I know. I was just like, we can just keep it going. But so, as we begin to wrap up, how was your time with us?
Thank you for coming down here, literally on your last day of vacation.
Literally,
And
thank you.
and getting to know both of you. This is
I know this is like the most amount of time that we've had to like
I know,
actually
like,
talk
yeah.
to each other and not like
We're like, hey,
in a
hi,
room.
yeah,
Hi,
great,
yeah.
hi, yes, hugs, high five.
Good to see you.
kisses, bye,
Yes.
see you later. Okay, great. Yes.
I mean, we'd
Or
be
see
working.
you maybe
Everyone
again in
be
20
working.
minutes, and we're gonna do it again. And we're like, have a good night. Bye. Thank you. So yeah,
We're
Yeah,
all
thank
real
you.
people today.
Yeah, yeah.
We raised by mentioning terms of service on the $10 clause.
Oh, I'm not even
30
thinking
bucks?
about that anymore.
Okay.
That's gonna be forwarded over to the accounting team, and they're gonna go ahead and tally it
Yeah,
up,
that's
and
what I'm saying.
we'll
It'll
see.
never gonna happen.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to. And yeah, well, I mean, Nariba's gonna have to say it actually.
Oh, I will. Yes,
Yeah,
I do say it at the end. That's my one
okay, great.
every time.
Okay.
Oh no, twice. The first one in the beginning, and
Okay.
then the second one at the end.
Great.
So technically, that's $20.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Yes.
And so on for the both of you, how do the people find you in Chicago Chefs Cook?
Like on the internet
Yeah.
and stuff.
And how do they and how
Yeah.
can they support and all
The
all of
Wiffies.
that? Do you take volunteers? Talk to us.
Our handle is at Chicago Chefs Cook. Very literal. On Instagram. Frankly, that's the best way that we communicate in and out of the organization.
Same.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would say that's where to get on sort of the pulse of Chicago Chefs Cook.
Right.
We're always open to ideas, innovation, volunteers, and partnership. So, I think Instagram's really been an incredible tool, and then it sort of, expands from there. But, we really rely on it, and we rely on, all the kind of grassroots digital channels.
Great.
And yeah, we welcome all the interactions, and we welcome all the interest. So thank you.
And what
Sweet.
about the
Of
website?
ChicagoChefsCook.org.
Boom.
Yeah,
He said it.
that domain was not taken. We took it.
you're like, and it's now ours. So please go to it.
501c3 discount.
Yeah, you're like,
Oh my gosh.
And and the website, it's a really beautiful website that Ida Davidman's son created.
Yep.
that's Cade.
Cade Misner.
Shout out. to
Watch
you.
out, world! Here he comes.
Yes.
He's
on the website.
He's on the website.
Yes.
He makes the cut for sure.
Yes. He's
He's on the website. He created the website, and the website.
like, if I'm creating this
Right,
website,
I'm
on
right,
it.
right,
Okay.
you're gonna know-
I'm on it. Okay.
Yeah,
Signature. I love it.
it's this beautiful tapestry of all of our events and photos and
I did
all
my
the
creeping.
things that we're doing.
I saw what you got going on there.
Okay.
Yeah,
A couple 2-3 times.
there you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we really appreciate everyone's interest. And yeah, please at Chicago Chefs Cook, ChicagoChefsCook.com .org, and obviously the Terms of Service podcast now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can I just say how powerful I think it is that you guys are talking about some of the really challenging issues. And there's always like
you.
a discussion that needs to happen around it. Nothing in this industry is like clean or
No.
this is how it is. There's so many shades of gray kind of mixed in.
If there's an elephant in the room, I'm talking about it.
Yeah, so I mean, and it's difficult to have the conversations too because
Absolutely.
people's feelings get hurt and it's very emotional.
Right.
And it's hard to do. And I think you guys have done a really nice job, and you seem really open about it. And I like the way you do it in a comfortable setting, so it isn't threatening. Good job.
Thank you.
Enjoy seeing you all at the events, but we really like sitting down and having this conversation with you.
Yeah,
and
this
we
is nice.
we welcome it.
I
Truly.
feel like
Thank you.
at the last event,
More to come.
at the last
to come.
event I saw y'all at, I felt like a toddler after a really long day because we had recorded that day
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, we did.
And
Yeah.
I was like trying my best, and I was like, okay, I've seen everyone, I've spoken to everyone, and now the people who have been cooking are starting to leave. And I looked at Justin, I was like, I have to go home or else I'm gonna cry. And he's like, okay.
I was like, it's okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, it was so lovely to see so many familiar faces and like meet new people who are also, I hadn't seen them at a previous event, so I'm like, okay, you're new, you're trying to get involved. That was really nice. So the growth is happening. It is palpable. We can see it. So thank you for
Thank you.
real
Absolutely.
recognize real right here. So,
Absolutely. And on that note,
yeah, we gotta do it.
I would love to hear from you, Chef Sarah, about additional growth for the year, because we had just talked about the event in March. What else? What else is, kind of cooking up for the remainder of the year that you're excited about?
Oh, I mean, there's so many possibilities of what we can do. And I have to say that I am not looking forward to the next disaster.
Yes.
That, I would love for us not to have to work.
Right.
It's just this whole thing is extremely difficult when you're facing people. It's people's lives that we're talking about here. But we will answer the call. We will do what we need to do to make a difference. And it may not be a huge difference. It may be the drop in the bucket that we hope has a ripple effect.
Showing up is half the battle.
Showing up is half the battle. And then consciously together, we're going to work to broaden our network across the country.
Respect.
Amazing. Awesome.
We're going to have to change our name, though. You realize that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about.
Yeah, you got to start
that
looking at
does.
other domains.
Listen,
Yeah, other domains.
Chicago
Keep
Chef's
it.
Cook doesn't have
No,
a big ring in like Nashville.
It's a little still hyper local.
It's hyper
I'm just
local,
throwing
right?
it out there.
It's
I don't know.
authentic.
Just like
Onion City, baby, Chicago.
And it doesn't have to be us.
Exactly.
It can be
Right.
just the community.
Yes.
I'm not looking to take on the
A
whole world here.
multi-market.
I'm looking to support
could
other
be.
people that will rise.
Yes.
absolutely. I love that.
It's Chicago. You should have it. New York has a lot.
All right, we'll take
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
You're like sounds great. Perfect.
Okay, I don't want
Anything in
Max to
closing?
like give us another card.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was like, Nariba,
Thank you.
anything in
Thank you,
closing?
Max.
I know. In closing,
Okay,
no.
fantastic.
Yeah. My name is Nariba Shepherd. You could find me on Instagram at Rebaru, RUBARU. I can't talk about my feelings anymore. Y'all really tried to make me cry today, so thank you.
Or that well. As always, I want to thank our homies and partners at Blind Barber Chicago for hosting this necessary conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Justin Arnett Graham, and you can find me on Instagram at thisisbiko. And as we have expressed in the past, I think that it's really important to reiterate how important it is for us to show up for one another as a community. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. So take care of
Mutually.
yourself and one another out there, and we shall see you soon.
Bye.
Peace.